Welcome to The Collective, powered by MMP. The ideas presented here are intended to assist in developing a strong and profitable business for Amway IBOs affiliated with Markham Man Productions. For the calendar year 2023, the average income from Amway for all U.S. registered IBOs at the Founders Platinum level and below was $841 before expenses. See www.amway.com/income-disclosure for details and the most up-to-date information. Earnings depend on many factors, including customer base, business experience, effort, dedication, and quality and performance of the downline sales team. Enjoy the following message.
From overwhelmed to organized, time management strategies for a productive life.
Boy, that's a mouthful. All right, overwhelmed. I think that kind of describes the whole world, doesn't it, Kim?
Yeah, everybody's so stressed out. Everybody's overwhelmed all
I
the
know,
time.
it's like crazy. Gosh, have you ever been overwhelmed? I think everybody listening to this have been overwhelmed. I know you and I were overwhelmed when after we got married and I moved up
You
from
were
Florida.
overwhelmed with me?
Well, no, I wasn't overwhelmed with you. But I was overwhelmed because, when we got married and I moved up to Pennsylvania and I had to sell my eye care practice down in Florida, we had to start all over
The
again.
things you do for love.
I guess. That was very overwhelming, not the love part.
Not
I
the
was
love part.
overwhelmingly in love, yeah, but I was overwhelmed because you and I had to start a brand new practice.
You had to get licensed again in
I had to
another
get
state.
licensed again. I had to start a new eye care practice from scratch. We had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old.
No, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
A 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. See, that's a guy thing.
Oh, you have women.
And yeah, overwhelmed.
We had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old when we started our
When we
business,
started-
not when we started our practice.
Oh, okay. See how confused I am? I'm a guy. But to start a business, and again, I just kind of figured out how to start a medical practice, and it takes a lot of work. And I had to not only see patients, I had to market, I had to deal with insurance. We had employees, had to deal with employees and payroll. And on top of all of that, and then running the practice and marketing.
And no one would help because in traditional business, if you help someone, you're helping your competition.
Right.
So it's not like this business where everybody wants to uplift and help and pour into someone else, mentor them, coach them forward. Nobody would do that in our medical practice because they
No,
would
it was
have
competition.
right.
In
So it's
in
all-
this
it was
business.
us.
Yeah. So I had all of this, so and then not only that, I had to spend 8 hours seeing patients. So I saw patients all day. Then I had to do all of this other stuff. So I was working all day and then working all night.
Plus we had children.
And then we had children. So we were doing this, and then we were introduced to this business. And then it was like, okay, how do we do this?
Right.
That's when we had the 1-year and 4-year-old. I kind of got the practice going, but I was working probably, I don't know, 14 hours a day, 8 hours during the day with patients, and then the rest of the evening. And then all of a sudden we start another business with a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it was like crazy. And everybody has their own scenario, people with different work schedules. A lot of people have to work multiple jobs. And, so sometimes what happens is people just become so overwhelmed that they end up not doing anything. But the question is, how do you go from being so overwhelmed with your life that you then have to be able to organize it so that now you can figure out, how do I fit this business in with my chaotic life?
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason why we get into business is so that we can not have a chaotic life. So how do we kind of organize it so that we can kind of build?
Right. I mean, we couldn't even find time for a date night, let alone building another business. I mean, it really was, it was crazy. And sometimes I think adulting is overrated. It's like everybody can't wait to get through stages of their life to become adults. Then it's all of a sudden, it's like, no, 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 no. I want to go back to being a kid. It was so much easier then. But for Gary and I, so we had money, income from medicine. What we didn't have was time. So busy was an understatement for us. So anybody out there that thinks they're busy, we get it. Okay. But when you want something bad enough, you figure it out. It's just like having kids. We wanted children. We wanted a family. We were no less busy when we went into having a family. But our kids rely on us to thrive. We don't shove them in a closet and come back later when we're less busy. We figure it out. It's amazing where you can find time. I love the analogy that busy people get things done because I see that all the time in coaching people. Some of our busiest people, our busiest professionals with families have been people that have rose up and really built something because they wanted that time back in their life so bad. So you have to give something to get it. You have to give time to get time back.
And that's interesting.
Where do you find it?
Right, and that's an interesting point because a lot of people don't understand what that means. So if you could kind of expand that, if you're so busy, here's how people think: I'm so busy, I don't have time.
Right, I can't put anything else on my plate.
Right, but you're saying you have to give time to get time
Yeah,
back.
because otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to be the same busy 20 years from now.
Right.
Is that the way you want to live? So we realized we wanted time. So we had to figure it out. So some of the things we did, time budgets are huge. For my personality, temperament, it's an agonizing process to do a time budget, but it is so beneficial and we do it all the time for people. You have to, just like when you do a financial budget, you have to speak to where your time is going, like you have to speak to where your money's going. You have to find what I call chunks or pockets of time. It's not like you have to build your business for 40 hours a week, but you have to find those chunks of time. So you have to identify those where those are. People have a lot of wasted time in their day and they just don't realize it. They have to eliminate distractions. There's a lot of distractions out there. They have to learn to say no. I personally am a recovering pleaser. No question. But my family's goals were more important than being involved in everything everybody wanted me to be involved with. I had to learn to say no. Some things that really helped us: making a plan. Effective time management isn't achieved randomly. You have to have a plan. You can't just wing it, okay? Create a priority list rather than a to-do list. On a to-do list, most people like doing the easy things first, checking the boxes. But understand what are your priorities and focus on getting those done first. A priority list versus a to-do list. Break down every task into small chunks so you don't get overwhelmed by things, right? Practice decision making. Just say no to things. You had to say no. Gary loves golfing.
I know. This was a tough one for me. I had to say no to golf.
He would golf every day of the week if it was up to Gary. But he had to, the kid, our family, our businesses were the priority in that season in our life. And now Gary's retired and able to golf all the time. But at that point, he had to say no. He loves boating. He loves golfing. We just didn't have the time. Delegating tasks, that was hard for us. We were, business owners, traditional business owners. So we were used to doing a lot ourselves. We had to learn in this business to delegate. That was something I know I had to really concentrate on. Setting SMART goals, understanding how to set goals. Most people don't. Another thing in life I think that would be so valuable for people to learn, but thank goodness they're a part of this system where they get to learn things like setting goals. Setting deadlines. Having deadlines for things that you want to accomplish. Now, that does not mean, okay, that you get stuck in that trap of beating yourself up when you don't hit goals, okay? We rarely hit ours. We hit some, but we rarely hit all of them, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't have a goal and if you don't have a deadline with the goal, then you're not going anywhere. You're going nowhere. So you have to set those goals, okay? That's really important. So those were some of the things that we did that made a difference for us. We were super busy and keeping our why in front of us. Gary and I have always been big, dreamers. We knew what we wanted. We wanted time together. We wanted time with our children. That made us emotional. And so it made us fight.
And you had a major calendar. You just blocked out, didn't you just block out
Yeah.
times
Oh,
that you had?
I would sit down and we would talk and I would find in the beginning, 10 hours a week. And I would chunk that time. And then during that time, I uninterruptedly focused on business building activities. Things like personal development, I fit that within my life, kind of habit stacking. But when it came to the business building activities, building customer volume, networking, Those were scheduled things on our calendar. They had to be, or they wouldn't have got done.
Right. And you're still like that with your calendar.
Right. And it's, because we want to continue to grow. And this business gave us time. And that's what we wanted. And that's what we were after.
All right. Thank you, guys.
This is a copyrighted program of The Collective.